I'm joined now by Phil Van Stockham, who served as an alternate juror on the Steinle trial. Phil, thanks for being here tonight. Good to have you with us. I just want to start by, you weren't aware that he was a 7-time convicted felon and that he had been kicked out of the country 5 times and managed to make his way back in, or that ICE had asked for him to be detained and that he was let go from a San Francisco holding area. You weren't aware of any of that, right?
None of that was discussed during the trial. We were told at the beginning of the trial that immigration was not at issue in this trial. It did not pertain to the evidence or the law surrounding the specific charges that were at issue.
All right. The thing that I think was the most shocking to most of us who watched this whole process was, the first degree, the second-degree murder charges went by, but the involuntary manslaughter was the one that is really hard to understand. And I'd like you to tell us why you think the jury went the way it did. And you did not cast a final vote because you were an alternate. But the way it was charged to all of you was that it had to meet 2 requirements for involuntary manslaughter: a crime that was committed in the act that caused the death, and that existed because he had possession of a felony firearm. And then number 2, the defendant acted with criminal negligence. He did something that an ordinary person would have known was likely to lead to someone's death. Both of those, as I read them, seem to add up really consistently with what happened here.
Sure, I can explain that. This is where I've seen the most confusion about the verdict in this trial, was on the manslaughter charge. So number 1 that you mentioned, a crime had to be committed during the act that caused death. It couldn't be any crime. The crime was specified by the prosecutor, and the jury had to use the crime that was specified by the prosecutor. And in this case, that was specified as brandishing of a weapon. When that was read to us in the jury instructions at the end of the trial, right before the closing arguments, I think that was the first time that we'd heard the word brandishing during this 5-week trial. There was no evidence of brandishing. Brandishing means waving around in a threatening manner. There's no evidence that the defendant did that, and there's no testimony, no witnesses even. So
you think that was an error on the part of the prosecution, that they were so specific in their description of it, because a crime committed in the act of causing the death is much broader than that. So, you think that was a mistake?
Well, I assume that they were required to be specific. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know why they chose brandishing specifically as opposed to something else like illegal possession of a firearm. But they may have been restricted in that. I just can't say. But from the perspective of a juror, that made it a non-starter for the manslaughter charge. The jury just simply could not lawfully convict him of that charge as it was written.
Yeah. In terms of the larger picture here, as a San Francisco resident, does the policy that allowed him to come in and out and to have a retainer request on him from ICE that was not observed, that was not upheld by the city, and they let him go, does that bother you?
Well, first of all, none of that was at issue in the case, and I don't have any special information that your viewers don't have about that. I actually haven't really thought about it all that much. We had to keep it out of our minds during the trial, and the jurors did a really good job of that, I think. And so, my opinion about that is no more informed or better than anyone else's.
All right. Phil, thank you very much. I know it's been a long haul, and we thank you for the participation that you took in the legal process that we all live under and are part of, and I appreciate you speaking with us tonight. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.